So I having a bit of a difficulty figuring out how to effectively co-parent. And so I have always been the primary person, taking care of my son, doing everything that he needs to do.
And how old is he now?
My son is 10.
Okay.
And
so what, fifth grade?
He is in the fourth grade.
Fourth grade, okay.
And so everything from when he was born, and when he was born, I was married, and even then, most of the responsibilities fell on me. It was like my husband at the time, he wanted to have children, but he didn't want the responsibilities that came along with parenting.
So how did that make you feel?
It made me feel like I was a married person with married but single. So it made me feel married but a single parent.
Okay, but like as far as feelings, were you angry towards him?
I don't think at first I was angry. And the frustration wasn't really there because I had already been a single parent to my daughter.
Right.
So in my mind, it was, I'm just going to get it done because that's who I am.
Right.
I didn't start to feel the frustration of it until I got divorced. And when I got divorced, it was, although my mom was, I still wanted to continue to do what I knew to do as a parent because my mom was, I've been here before.
Right.
I have a son this time.
Right.
And so they have different needs.
Correct.
And so the frustration really started to intensify when my son started playing sports.
Okay.
And
that's more of a male bonding thing.
It was
where
that.
You felt like
yes,
that was. Okay.
It was that. It was haircut.
Right.
It was all of those things that I should not have to do as a mother.
Right. And you felt like the responsibility fell on you.
And it was just in my lap. So,
I mean, were you angry or more frustrated?
I would say the combination of both.
Okay.
I can't say that it was absent from either emotion because at different phases I would feel different ways. I would feel disappointed.
Okay.
I would feel like I felt as far as my selection of who I decided to have a second child with.
So you felt bad about yourself.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that was part of it too. It wasn't just towards him.
Exactly.
It was towards
exactly.
yourself.
It was like, how did you let this happen?
Right.
So that was the thing. So it was still trying to compensate for this absence.
Okay.
And so my thing was I didn't want to really focus on it because my dad was not present, although I have a relationship with him now.
Okay.
He was not an active parent when I was growing up.
So how did that make you feel when you were growing up, not now that you reconnected? At that time, how did you feel?
At that time,
were you
I
sad?
felt disappointed. I felt disappointed, but my mom never talked bad about my dad.
Wow.
And so she would always encourage me to reach out and to stay in contact. Okay. And she would take me to his family's house. And I would spend the weekends at his mom's house, and his sisters would come and get me. So I always stayed connected with them, and I got to see him through those angles. So as I started to go through my situation, I remembered that my mom never talked bad about my dad.
Okay.
And any opinion that I had of him was formulated from my own experience with my dad. Okay. It had nothing to do with my mom's relationship or lack thereof with my dad. Mm-hmm. And so I practiced that, but on the inside, it would just be this turmoil. Literally like rage almost, mm-hmm. because I knew that he just wanted to be a father in name. Wow. He just wanted to be able to say that he was a father.
I mean, that's understandable that you would feel angry because you're left with the majority of the responsibility, but he still gets the opportunity to say that he's a father to his son who's doing all these amazing things.
And that's where I was getting ready to go.
Being a part of it.
And that's where I was getting ready to go because, as I said, my mindset when I first got divorced was, I did this before. Right. So it's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. But when you steal the credit and you brag about my son as if you participated, mm-hmm. that just drove me to a whole level of anger. Right. And because I am the person that I am, and he would be on Facebook, my son, and this and this and this. And
so you still follow him on Facebook?
I don't follow him on Facebook,
okay.
But because I know who he is, and because he has such a large following, and we have some of the same people.
Okay, so you have friends in common.
And people that know that he's not really this person that he portrays to be as far as a father, okay. They make mention, and so this one.
Does that make you feel validated that other people do notice that he's not really?
Well, see, I'm not looking for validation because it doesn't help my son.
Okay. So your focus is more on him.
Yes.
And what he needs.
Yes.
And less about validation for
Yes.
you and
Yes.
your parenting.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'm going to give you one example of a situation that really bothered me when it came to this. So he had promised my son he was going to take him to wrestling. Him and my son had this was their thing, that they would watch wrestling.
Like WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they were having live wrestling match, come to the city.
I think that was last year?
It was last February.
Okay, I remember.
And he promised my son that he was going to take him. And my son marked it on the calendar. And the day of the wrestling match, I'll never forget it, he looked at the calendar. He said, "Oh, man, my dad was supposed to take me to wrestling." And I didn't say anything. I didn't comment. And the next day, I see a friend of both of ours that we shared his post from when he was on his way to the wrestling match. And he was on a live video talking about how much his son loves wrestling, but my son wasn't in the car with him. And the way he did the video, people thought that he was taking my son to see a wrestling match.
Wow.
And
oh my goodness.
I went on the post, and I don't do that Facebook
get in
thing.
The comments.
But the person that posted it, I went on the post underneath because they all both on there, laughing. And I said, "Who went to wrestling match last night?" He texted me. He didn't respond to me on Facebook because he already knew what my issue was.
Right.
And I literally cussed him out.
Wow.
And that's not what I do. I don't use profanity on any other occasion.
Right.
But when it comes to my kids, you make me turn into a different person.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard you use profanity.
I don't use profanity.
But in that situation, it's completely understandable why you would be so angry, because not only did he disappoint your son, he's misleading other people to make it seem like he really did do this thing that he didn't do.
And so my cousin was like, "Oh, I saw the video. I thought Jay Sean was in the car.
Right.
I thought he was taking him." No, and he said to me, "Well, I thought he had football practice, my mom." But if you talk to your son, if you was part of what he does,
day-to-day,
you would know what his football practice schedule was. And the fact that you didn't even reach out and try to find out is unacceptable to me.
Right.
So this is an area that I struggle in, because I feel like I don't need to share my parenting with you because you're not really a participant. And so if you're not going to inquire, I'm not going to give.
And does he still even inquire?
He doesn't. His mother does all the inquiring, but he still expects.
On his behalf?
She does it on her own behalf, but she does it from the strength of making it seem that her son is interested, because she doesn't want her son to appear to be a bad father.
Okay. So
because she was even the one